Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and today's episode is cut from another podcast of which I am the co-host, The Soul of Enterprise, which is also sponsored by Sage. The Soul of Enterprise is dedicated to belief that business has a spiritual, though not necessarily religious, component. I hope you enjoy this excerpt. If you do, please visit www.thesoulofenterprise.com for more.
Well, Ed, this is really a show about subscription because subscription puts the relationship front and center. Mm-hmm. And this was a topic I know that you guys talked about on the VeraSage Fellows call earlier this week that I had to miss, unfortunately. But I had posed the question in the prior month's call about this topic, and I didn't do a good job on it. But let me try and set it up and try and articulate it better. I've read several things, just like you have over the last few months, that have really inspired this deep dive into relationship. And one of them was Fender. And Fender, a guitar company founded in 1946, they figured out, and I don't know when they figured this out because there were no dates attached to this, but they figured out that 90% of new guitar players quit within 3 to 6 months. A big chunk of those quit within 30 days, trying to learn a new guitar when you buy it to learn, and they quit. And the people that stick with it for 1 year usually become customers for life. And that just corresponds to what we know about subscription businesses. If people stick to a subscription for 1 year, they usually remain a customer for life. And Fender Play began doing, they started the Fender Play app, and I'm not sure when that happened, but the Fender Play app is basically a digital library of 3,000 online video lessons on how to play the guitar at various levels. So I'm sure beginning, intermediate, advanced. And within 3 years, and again, I'm not sure when that Fender Play app started, within 3 years, they had 130,000 subscribers and with a 95% retention rate, which is pretty good. And I know we've lost Ed here, Greg, so I'm assuming that we're on. But the subscribers that subscribe to the Fender Play app spend 40% more on Fender products on average than non-subscribers to Fender Play. And when COVID struck, and I believe they started to do this in March after the lockdowns came, they gave a free trial, I think a 3-month trial to Fender Play. That brought them from 130,000 subscribers to 1 million within 3 months. And TSOE, there's been write-ups about this in the Zora newsletter in the last few weeks. And one laid out 3 lessons that people can learn from this. And one is that Fender practiced a lot with experimentation. They say, experimentation makes perfect. It's okay to admit you don't know what you don't know. The guy in charge of Fender Play basically said, and I love this quote, "You find holes by falling into them. Then you fill them and you never do that again," right? The second lesson was stay in tune with the customer, understanding the qualitative human elements of the customer experience. And this is what really got me into the relationship side of this, because that's more of a psychological thing. I mean, yeah, there's tons of analytics and big data around, Netflix users and all of that. And in fact, that's the third lesson is listen to the analytics. Retention is important. Churn is important, all of that. But you also have to understand the harder to quantify metrics like engagement. And Fender says, look, people are messy and complicated. And it's really true. And that's why that customer experience and that onboarding process, that first 30 days, even that first 90 days is really important. And it got me to thinking, and just again, add on the psychological aspects of this model and why it's so different from a transactional model, even a value pricing model, is because I started thinking about I subscribe to two things: Clear and Sirius. Clear for probably as equally long subscriptions. I've had Clear for quite a while, and I've had Sirius since I bought my car. I re-up every year, and I can't tell you why, because I don't much listen to Sirius in my car when I'm driving. I listen to podcasts, and I don't use Clear very often. Especially, I did in the early days, but when Pre came out, it just knocked Clear off my mind, basically. But every time it comes up, I renew it. And I think there's something psychological there. And I don't know if it's loss aversion. I don't know it's that, like, same reason I overpack when I go on trips. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That logic. I know it's peace of mind. I know it's convenience. It's not like I never use these things. I do use them occasionally, but they're there, and I kind of like the protection of it's like a backup system. And then I started thinking, I remember reading a marketing book, and I wish I could remember who said this. It was somebody like a Seth Godin or something, but they were taught, and this was way back. So roll back 25 years and or 20 years maybe. I found this to be it resonated with me. They said, when you look at the difference between Gillette and Schick, the guy said, Gillette builds relationships, Schick sells razors. And when you looked at the marketing and the TV ads, that was true. Gillette had Tiger Woods and these other celebrities speak. They never talked about the product that much. Schick just seemed to be much more utilitarian. Here's a great shave, blah, blah, blah. But then you come along with subscription, and you got Dollar Shave Club, you got Harry's. Tell me which one's paying lip service to the relationship, and tell me which company is actually strengthening and bonding that relationship over a period of a lifetime. Dollar Shave Club sold for $1 billion to Harry's, to Unilever, and Harry's, I think, sold to another either big company or private equity group, I don't know, for a little bit under $1 billion. And I started thinking, no matter how good we become at value pricing, and there's no doubt that value pricing improves and strengthens the customer relationship, it still pays lip service to it, because you can be a great value pricing firm and still have mediocre relationships with your customers. And that's why I want to explore this topic. I want to talk about those psychological and other factors that makes a relationship such a strong bond. And subscription is the model that fosters that. Value pricing doesn't necessarily do that.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.